there's a very interesting quotation from Paramhansa Yogananda. First he says, making money honestly and industriously is the next greatest art to realizing God, which is kind of startling, isn't it? And quite a few of his very advanced disciples were self-made men who just used their energy to create great wealth. It wasn't that he cultivated such people, but it was interesting that some were, which is to say there was no opposition between being very successful in the world and being very dedicated spiritually. In fact, his spiritual successor was a self-made bazillionaire for that time, and he became Yogananda's most advanced male disciple. But before that, he was just a businessman, a very successful one. The other thing Yogananda said was, every good, noble, or philanthropic enterprise sooner or later comes down to a matter of money. So he was exceedingly realistic, instead of just talking about things in the abstract as if we could just turn our back on this. Swami Kriyananda put it in a different way. He said, this is the kind of world where to build things you have to lift up the rocks and carry them a distance. You can't just find some shortcut to how this is all going to work. And the reason that all of these things come, then let me give you a few more pieces of this. In the age that we've just come out of, which is the age of fixed form and matter, and we're moving into the age of energy, the spiritual and the physical are coming back together, because there's no real difference. Find something in creation that was not created by God, including the fact that we need money to live and to eat. You can't. It's a totally interwoven fabric of creation, and you can't just pull this out and say this is of God and pull this out and say that it isn't. Even the shadow, even the part where the satanic force is really influencing it, it's not destroying the light, it's merely blocking it. And the reason that we're born onto a planet in which things don't just fall in our hands without effort is because the effort trains our consciousness. And if we weren't forced to make that effort just to survive, we would not learn the discipline, the clarity, the perseverance, the courage, the imagination that we need. And that's why often people who never have to make an effort in life have a very weak character, and often they're very unhappy. And it's a cliche, but it's a true one, that often the most wealthy people are the most unhappy because they've never been forced to train their consciousness. They've just drifted along without ever building any inner power. And as a consequence, no matter how they may look, they're terribly insecure because they have nothing of their own to rely upon. And also, money is an extremely way to find out how practical you're being in your idealism. Because if you're not being practical, it's not going to work. And money is just a flow of energy. It's an energy exchange, but it's a very interesting measure of energy. That my energy is not quite aligned because I'm putting out energy, but it's not bringing me the result I need, so how do I need to adjust myself? I asked Swami Kriyananda, I told you this earlier, what is the secret of prosperity? He said creativity. Because creativity says, well, that didn't work, what'll I try next? And that one didn't work, and I'll keep trying. It's the capability of not being deterred by obstacles. And that is the same skill that's required to realize God. Because when you finally come to full enlightenment, it's because you faced and overcome every thought within you that limited you. And so money is a really good practice. It's a kind of a getting ourselves in order. And there's lots of people who talk about how to manifest. Swami Kriyananda wrote a very small book called Money Magnetism. It's a small book, but it just has all the basic principles of what kind of energy do you need to put out. So to get money to a principle is not asking how do I get more money, but what kind of energy can I put out creatively in order to generate positive energy. And in the act of doing that, multiple things happen. You develop your own abilities. which gives you more confidence, which makes you a happier person and less afraid. And you also may accidentally draw money, but you also can, the effort to do that and the measuring of it tells you where you're online and offline. And so you begin to develop your intuition. And you develop your intuition, and once you begin to understand how to be intuitive, then you can apply it to whatever you're interested in. So you develop your intuition making money, and then you realize that money is not the final goal, but you now know how to be intuitive. The same applies for creative art. If you paint or dance or sing or cook or, the design buildings or sew dresses, whatever you do, if you're trying to do it really well, you begin to develop, you get into the flow of energy, and you begin to develop an intuitive awareness of what you should do. And that intuition is a transferable skill. And not only in one lifetime, but you're born the next incarnation with more confidence and more awareness and more knowing the results of perseverance, more determination. So that's the principle, is the quality of energy. Don't be afraid of it. Making money is sort of fun. I mean, it's just it's an adventure. And fear doesn't bring results.